With the latest agriculture news from across the state and nation, it's time for the AgNet News Hour from AgNet West. Here's your host, Sabrina Halverson.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us today on the AgNet News Hour. Today is our final day of coverage from the FIRA USA conference, and we have a show filled with interviews and content from FIRA. But we're starting today with a quick check-in on another conference happening halfway across the country, but it's one that some would say is just as important for the future of agriculture, and that's the National FFA Conference. Here's David Geiger.
70,000 students are in Indianapolis this week for the 97th National FFA Convention and Expo. Christy Meyer with the National FFA organization says it's significant as they celebrate reaching over 1 million student members.
There's so much to choose from. I don't think anybody can experience everything. So we have our expo where we can visit all of those businesses who are ag-related. We have those career pathways to explore. We have competitive events, so our students are coming and competing and then getting recognized on stage. We have student and teacher workshops. Then we have our National Days of Service, where we give back to over 20 different community areas.
The expo has over 300 exhibitors, and there's the Career Success Tours, where students can tour local ag businesses, all of which, Meyer says, demonstrates the support FFA has from the farm community.
We have over 700 corporate and individual supporters just for this event alone. And I really want to talk about it's not just the monetary, it's also the volunteer, right? We have a lot of alumni and supporters who come to convention to help the advisors with their chapters and just maybe mentor those students for their competitive events. And it's just really heartwarming to see how much people want to give back because they know our members are those future leaders in agriculture.
One of the ways mentorship is made easier in the FFA is through the alumni and supporter chapters. Meyer says she's excited about students exploring the over 350 careers in agriculture, adding the future is strong and they see it in their members.
We're super excited at this convention that we can watch our members learn more about the industry, and we know that they're going to take that knowledge and put it to work for them. There
is a live stream of the convention. Anyone can follow along on the website ffa.org and can also check in on social media with the hashtag FFA2024. I'm David Geiger reporting.
We're out here at the FIRA event being held at the Yolo County Fairgrounds, and I am talking with Gabe. Gabe, I'm going to let you introduce yourself so I don't mess it up.
Gabe Yahtzee, like the game, Chief Innovation Officer at UC Agriculture and Natural Resources.
All right, so will you tell me a little bit about the FIRA show? This is my first year here, actually, and I've been really enjoying it, but tell our listeners a little bit about it.
Yeah, FIRA USA it's the third year of what has become, we think, the largest ag, robotics, and automation conference in North America. And while it's been in California, it's moved around from the Central Valley to the Central Coast and up here to Northern California. We really see it as a North American show to bring the cutting edge and the future, but the practical of ag, robotics, and automation to California right here at the fairgrounds. And one of the key things that we do here, we of course bring the robotics companies from all over the world to come here to California. But unlike some other ag events, what we do is we actually demonstrate them in the real world by growing a vegetable field in the parking lot of this fairground to do the demonstration of these technologies so that the growers, the other ecosystem builders, the startups can all see these demonstrations in action that hopefully leads to some adoption and sales and ultimately scale up of these solutions here in California and also in other places around the U.S.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I do get to travel around to shows quite a bit all over. And the shows that I've been to, like the Farm Progress shows and things like that, that do have plots where they've got crops growing, you're there to see the crop and not the machinery involved. And they certainly don't have machinery like what we're seeing out here. So just to see that actually in action, I think makes a huge difference. It really brings everything to life.
Yeah, I'd say love the Farm Progress show. There's other great shows and examples of that around the U.S. One of the things that we have that's a little different in California is just a lot bigger variety of different kinds of crops. And as we develop out the solutions for our Midwest row crops, corn, wheat, soy, we're actually also trying to figure out fruit, nuts, and vegetables too. And that is one differentiating factor, I'd say, the FIRA USA show, both the World FIRA in France, but also here in the U.S., is maybe just the crop diversity that we're trying to find solutions for. And while our crop production in the in the vegetable field isn't spectacular, it gets enough to demonstrate what these new technologies are doing. And so we've continued to build that for vines, for row crops, for tree nuts, to really give the growers in particular a vision of what these solutions are going to actually do for them. And it's just been a great example to bring the talking parts, the networking parts, the demonstration parts all together in one place, and a fairground is the best place to do that.
I agree. I have to tell you that being a California girl myself, I love seeing so much of this devoted to specialty crops, because when you go to other shows, you don't find hardly anything really for specialty crops, save for the other big show that we have here in our state. But when you hit shows in the Midwest, what's a lettuce field? So to see this equipment that's meant for our crops, I think is phenomenal.
Yeah, we really want to just be a complementary partner to the other great shows and events that are out there that all have their roles in their place. We just believe this really tight focus on robotics and automation, the demonstration and exhibition right next to each other, so that we can just really go deep on those kinds of solutions. Really the problem that we're ultimately trying to solve, we have labor challenges, of course, here in California, but across the U.S. and really around the world in agriculture, and also just pairing that with solutions that are going to drive sustainability. California being a very policy-forward state on climate policy, having those solutions that can address labor concerns while addressing sustainability concerns together in these new technologies is a really powerful combination, and a reason why California makes sense to do this project.
Absolutely, especially with just, like you were saying, California just being on the cutting edge of things too. Again, we are out here at the FIRA USA conference happening at the Yolo County Fairgrounds, talking with Gabe Gotze. I'm Sabrina Halverson. This is the AgNet News Hour, and we'll be back right after this.
Welcome back to the AgNet News Hour. Here's Sabrina Halverson.
We are out here at the FIRA USA conference happening at the Yolo County Fairgrounds, talking with Gabe Gotze. One conversation I've been having with a lot out here, and our listeners will have heard this question a few times in my interviews from the show, but there has been the critique that automation is going to take jobs away from people. And that's just not the case. And I've been learning that more and more out here. But can you, again, explain it for our listeners, how that works?
Yeah, so I hear that too a lot, and it's a concern that frequently comes up. Part of the challenge is that we're steadily losing workforce in the agricultural sector. Our workforce here in California and in the broader U.S. is mostly from Mexico and Central America, and they're able to find either different kinds of jobs, what they could say better paying jobs in other sectors or back in their home countries. And so we're steadily losing our workforce, our supply of workforce. I'd say another thing though that's not often thought of is automation actually will help make the work of ag better in terms of safety and health. Oftentimes the robotic solutions that are emerging, think Burrow or FarmNG, are actually co-robots that actually work with the humans in the field to make their jobs easier, better, and actually make them more money. But also it will do things like remove the worker from situations where there's more harmful chemical exposure, as an example. It's going to help on a number of fronts, including easing the labor shortage and burdens, but also making the jobs of workers healthier, more profitable, and ultimately we'd like to see both the workers themselves as well as the children of our farm workers taking opportunities to upskill. We have workforce programs that sort of work alongside all this innovation that are really aimed at upskilling the workforce, both our incumbent workers in Espanol, but also the children of our workers whose parents are often saying don't go into ag, to find them quality tech-oriented jobs in a variety of different roles that they are interested in doing, and they can do it, stay in their communities, have those jobs, and grow and really take over the next generation of agriculture and being engaged with the growers.
Something else along those lines, just yesterday, just a few feet from where we're standing right now, I was chatting with a young guy who's going to UC Merced, and he had not thought at all about a future in agriculture. He was looking at a future just in tech and robotics, and then through the course of his early years in college, realized that these two really can go together, and now he's out here showing what ag tech can do. And I found that to be really interesting as well.
Yeah, we do a couple of things. There's quite a few good examples. I'll just give you a couple of things. One of those is from the UC Ag and Natural Resources, we run a program called Vine Build. And what we do is for students at the university, if they're interested in starting a company through the research lab that they're working on, because at our universities, a lot of research is happening, but how do you translate that into real world solutions and companies? We actually have a program, if there's a promising technology and students want to take that and to market and become an entrepreneur, we have a pathway to do that. And we've helped multiple companies coming out of universities, and some of the students actually transform their student career after they're graduated into an entrepreneurship pathway. Another thing for undergraduate students we're doing, and we're going to announce the winners of on Thursday, is a farm robotics challenge, where they use the FarmNG robot, a small $20,000 robot, and they have teams of undergraduate students that build solutions on top of it. And it has really captured the imagination of undergraduate students from 20 universities around the U.S. who have teams participating in these things, from students of a variety of backgrounds, whether it's computer science, engineering, social science, ag. They all come together, they build a solution, and they get a prize. It's been a great learning project for them, and also capture their imaginations about possible careers in agricultural technology. And so we're continuing to grow that program as well, and really would love to have more universities around the U.S. participating in that, because it's been a real success.
That's just amazing. I love to hear all about that. All right, so as our listeners can probably hear, this show this year a success. We've got a nice crowd out here, a lot of vendors. Plans in the work for next year?
So 2025 are in the works. We really love this location. We've moved it around California a few times. It might be here in 2025 is our current thinking, and right here near the Sacramento, capital of California, Woodland. And so easy flight in for any of you from around the U.S. We'd love to have you participate. It's low cost, it's free to growers, and it's a great time and a great way to see and demonstrate the latest in agricultural technology. Love to have you here.
All right, thank you so much, Gabe, for your time. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Again, we are out here at the FIRA USA conference happening at the Yolo County Fairgrounds. I'm Sabrina Halverson. This is the AgNet News Hour, and we'll be back right after this. This segment is brought to you by Live Earth Products. To get to know a little more about Live Earth Products, we're talking on the phone today with Vice President Russell Taylor. Let's talk about LEP. What are the key benefits of your products for farmers in the Western Zone?
So Live Earth Products, we mine and manufacture a ingredient called humate. Now, humate is rich in organic acids called humic acid and fulvic acid. Now, those are common components in your soil organic matter. And here in the Western United States, unlike those places around the Mississippi going east, actually have very low organic matter. Now, your organic matter is key think of it as the pantry in the soil. So it's key to water retention, nutrient retention, nutrient cycling, microbial activity, those kind of things. So anything that's going to impact the increase in soil organic matter will also impact things like water holding capacity and nutrient holding capacity, which is a big deal here in the West when water is not as abundant as it is in the east side of the United States.
Now, what about nitrate? I know nitrate can be a problem in some soils. So how do LEP products help reduce the nitrate problem on saturated soils?
So Live Earth Products, it's not unique in how we affect nitrogen, but any organic matter will help retain nitrogen. So typically the mechanisms that we use are blending the nitrogen with the humate. So what happens is the nitrogen will attach to the humic acid, and you will see less of the processes that degrade or volatilize nitrogen. So nitrogen will either convert to a gas, or it'll be converted by microbes into a nitrate and leach to the soil. So the longer you have that product is not being volatilized or converted, it's a longer opportunity for that nutrient to be used by the plant. We have university testing that has shown that when you blend these organic acids with the nutrient, you give that plant a longer opportunity to use that nutrient before it's lost, volatilized, or converted.
To get to know more about Live Earth products, you can visit them online at liveearth.com. That is spelled LIVEARTH.com.
Welcome back to the AgNet News Hour. Here's Sabrina Halverson.
We are here at the FIRA USA conference, which is happening at the Yolo County Fairgrounds. I'm talking with Walt Duflock, the Senior Vice President of Innovation for Western Growers. And I had several things that we wanted to talk about today, but let's talk about automation to start with, because that is FIRA and what FIRA is focused on. In California, where we have so many challenges when it comes to labor, the idea of getting more automation into our fields is huge. So what are some of the things that you're really focused on, and what are you seeing out here?
Well, it's our third show. We had one 2 years ago in Fresno. Good start. We had one in Salinas. It got bigger. Now we're doing our third one here at Yolo County. Biggest one yet. We had 1,000 people show up on opening day yesterday, which is great. And the thesis for the show is labor remains one of the biggest challenges for specialty crop ag. So let's see what we can do to help solve labor. And specifically, when you look at how big the labor problem is, the real challenge is it's getting harder to find and more expensive. And so robots are more needed than ever. What we've got is actually a $16.3 billion labor check every year for California growers and going up. And you've got 850 million hours of labor to put into the fields. So it's tough. And so what we're working toward is you either automate it, or increasingly what we find is it leaves the area. Right? So when acreage relocates to Arizona, to Mexico, to Peru, that's because we have priced it out of the California market in a lot of times. And all of these startups that are here this week in FIRA and all the growers that are here watching them, they are looking for one thing, two things. Can that robot do what they say it can do, and can it do it at math that works for me as a grower, right? So your average weeding robot, we did a study with one of our big growers, Braga Fresh, and we found out that in year one of the study, they had $2.1 million of weeding expense for hand crews, right? And in year two, when they added carbon robotics, the laser weeder to the mix, they ended up with a $1.3 million expense of robot and workers. So that $800,000 savings, that's what justifies the laser weeder. That's where you get your ROI. Every other automation company wants to see that similar type of math where a 1 or 2 year payback can pay back my machine and save me some of my labor pressures. So that's what we're here to do this week, is get folks in the field to start those conversations. What we found is getting people to an event is great, but getting them in the field with startups, even greater. That's what FIRA is all about.
Let's talk about for a minute the focus on startups, which I feel is, I want to say it's unique, and it's great to see a place where startups can come together. And another thing that I've really enjoyed seeing here is the collaboration between the startups as well. There are many that are actually working together to create even bigger products.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. So there are companies that have hardware, there are companies that have data and analytics solutions, there are companies that have sensors, and they're all figuring out ways where they can sell one item, one combined offering, if you will, to the growers. Because guess what? The grower doesn't care whether it's 1, 2, or 3 products. They care about what does it do to my to one of my line items on my budget, right? And so yes, you are seeing some cross-selling, some together selling. You're seeing products like Burrow and FarmNG where they have a little platform, a $10,000 to $25,000 platform that you can add stuff to. So it can become a weeding robot. It can become a planting robot from a platform. You just have to glue all that stuff together. The other alternative is instead of the farmer growing it all, building it all together, why don't the startups just work together to build that together and bring it jointly to the customer? So you're seeing more and more of that collaboration among the startups because they realize if I add a benefit and they add a benefit, 1 + 1 can equal 3, and we'll both add a benefit and sell to the farmer. It also, from a competitive standpoint, means you're not just one solution, you're 2 solutions in one if you can message it right. So it's an opportunity and a collaboration opportunity.
Talking with Walt Duflock, Senior Vice President of Innovation for Western Growers, out here at the FIRA USA conference at the Yolo County Fairgrounds. This is the AgNet News Hour. I'm Sabrina Halverson, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to the AgNet News Hour. Here's Sabrina Halverson.
Back out at the FIRA USA conference happening at the Yolo County Fairgrounds, talking with Walt Duflock, Senior Vice President of Innovation for Western Growers. And as we're talking about problem solving for California agriculture, you can't talk about problems in California agriculture without hitting on regulations. And I wish my listeners could see the face that you just made. Because it's true.
Sabrina. No, you can't not talk about the regulations. And if you look at some of the numbers behind that, so Lynn Hamilton, Ag Econ professor at Cal Poly, love Lynn. She's done some fantastic work over 12 years, and this is 7 years ago now. So from 2005 to 2017, she looked at the same farmer, the same acreage, the same crop. It was leafy greens, romaine, I believe. And so literally every variable is the same. Same guy, same farmer, same crop, same everything, 12 years apart. The regulatory cost alone went from $109 per acre per year to $977 per acre per year. Three main drivers on that. Number one, food safety. You got to have food safety. We're not arguing against it. We're just saying that drives the cost up, and it implements as a labor cost in most cases. You have Leafy Green Marketing Agreement, LGMA, the industry side of it. You had Food Safety Modernization Act, the federal legislative side of it. You had Obamacare, adding healthcare costs to it. And finally, you had minimum wage, overtime, and break rules. So those three together were a good chunk of that 800 plus gain. And here's the crazy part. That 109 number in 2005, each of those three was more than 109 in 2017. So it's gone up since 2017, but that's the level of math we're talking about, is an 8x lift. And if you talk to Lynch, he'd probably say it's 10 to 12x now, 7 years later. And that, again, that all hits the farmer right in the head every January 2nd.
And so every penny counts in any way that farmers can find to spread those pennies more effectively and more efficiently, especially with, again, going back to new technology. It really makes a difference.
No question about it. Every one of these solutions out here has potential math there. It's the job of the startup and the grower to figure out what that math looks like for their operation. So in the case of the weeding robots, it looks different if you buy equipment or lease equipment. It looks different if you're using domestic labor versus H-2A labor. It looks different if you're using employees W-2s versus 1099s, right? And so all of these factors have to be put into the spreadsheet. All these factors have to be looked at for your operation, because the case study we put together has nothing to do with your operation. It's just an operation that looks like yours. You've got to do your math for your farm and make sure that it works. But that's our whole message this week, is nobody should buy an automation solution before they do their math for their operation. We've got some templates out there, some economic templates the growers can use. We've got a service called Western Growers Assist if they want us to help them pull the numbers, because it turns out the spreadsheet's actually the easier part. The harder part is finding some of those numbers, right? What did that equipment cost, and was it a 5-year depreciation? And what does that labor cost, and how much is that FLC charging us, the farm labor contractor? And what is every line item I need to account for? What department does it live in? Who owns that number, right? For the whole year. So it's really hard to get a baseline, but it's super important, because without that, how do you know how much better you got? So our focus on FIRA is let's all get comfortable doing a lot of math.
All right, I'm going to have a hard time with that one.
We've got the spreadsheet for you.
Thank you very much. Everybody knows.
We figured out nobody wants to build spreadsheets if they can have a starter kit.
That's right. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Absolutely. Something else that I've really enjoyed out here at FIRA has been the demos. I love watching the demos and just being able to, you don't have to visualize what these machines are capable of. You can actually go and watch it. And I think that has been such a key component as well. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. It's been the mantra since day one, right? When we started FIRA 3 years ago, you're going to laugh. We said 2 days of in-classroom setting, kind of conference room setting, and 1 day in the demos. And we realized quickly, you know what? People want it to be more like a Tulare show where it's outside and all that stuff. So we went to the 3-day format in year 2 in Salinas, where every day there were demos in the field for hours. And it was a huge hit, and it's a huge hit here. And you're exactly right. My partner, Ben Poloners, we call him the first-generation parking lot farmer. He has turned now the Salinas parking lot and the Yolo County parking lot into some really good specialty crop acreage in a couple of weeks, which is so impressive. But what it does, it's exactly right. It gives them the ability to both be in the field, see the startups, talk to the founders, and you're right, you don't have to guess what it does. You can watch what it does. So watching that John Deere See and Spray go 15 miles an hour and hit that target, watching the mechanical weeders and watching the spray shooters go out there and hit the target in their crops and watch it in live action, it's just so much more powerful than seeing slides and seeing videos. And so we're big believers in the demo format. We'll always have an everyday demo availability format, and that's why, because there's nothing like it.
So for our listeners who couldn't be out here this year, what would you really want them to know?
Well, if you can't join us at FIRA, definitely figure out who the companies are that are exhibiting here. We have it on the website, and definitely keep track of our templates, our economic templates. Get familiar with them for your operation. And if you have any questions, give us a call at Western Growers. Check in with us, send us an email, because even if you can't be here, the templates are yours to use, the case studies are yours to read, and Western Growers Assist is available for any Western Growers member. And if you want to be a new member to get access to it, we'll happily help you become a new member. But the point is, the tools are all here for you. You just got to take advantage of them. So you don't have to be at the show to take advantage of them. What you do have to be at the show is to talk to these guys live.
Yeah. which has been just a great experience for a lot of people that I'm witnessing as I'm walking around.
Yeah, no, we're really happy, again, to have 1,000 people hit this facility in day one. We think we'll get similar traffic day two, and we'll see about day three. But it tells us we're hitting a need because people are coming from long distances to exhibit and be here, and to attend and be here, and to ask these guys some questions and listen to the content. So we're pretty sure the combination of demos plus some pretty cutting-edge content is bringing people to Yolo County. And I can't tell anybody this yet, but rumor has it we're going to probably come back next year and do it again. What we really like is the Yolo County Fairgrounds. In California, there's 58 counties. There's 58 county fairgrounds. 15 to 20 of them look a lot like this one. This event facility is perfect for our events. So we're going to be doing more of these style events in these county fairgrounds. It won't just be Fresno and Salinas and Yolo. We will move this around over the next few years.
I promise not to tell anybody that little secret that you just gave, except maybe a few million listeners. How about that?
Don't put it out today.
All right.
Day to officially announce it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking a few minutes with me. I really appreciate it, Walt.
Sabrina, thank you.
We're reporting from the FIRA USA conference happening at the Yolo County Fairgrounds. I'm Sabrina Halverson. This is the AgNet News Hour. We'll be back right after this.
Welcome back to the AgNet News Hour. Here's Sabrina Halverson.
Wrapping up our coverage of the FIRA conference now being held at the Yolo County Fairgrounds. I stopped by the Greater Sacramento Economic Council booth and talked with President and CEO Barry Broom. We are here at the FIRA USA event being held in Sacramento County, and I wanted you to tell me a little bit about the Greater Sacramento Economic Council.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's 50 CEOs in the community largely funded. On the other side of those CEOs on the board are 22 communities. Of course, Yolo County, Davis, and Woodland are on the board. And the goal is to get the economy more productive, more efficient, produce better jobs, and be more sustainable going into the future. If you know anything about community economies now, you got a lot of jobs, you might not have housing, your prices may be going up too high on the rental side, or you got affordable housing, but you don't have enough wealth-generating behaviors in the economy. So we try to work on industries like food and agriculture, biomedical, semiconductor, storage and battery technology is very committed towards a clean grid and removing carbon-based vehicles from the economy. And then, how do we create a future for our community that people can live here, work here, play here, raise a family here, and have all the economic potential they can as an individual.
That all sounds very foreign. Thank you. Looking toward the future and building that up.
Yeah, and they change all the time. And 1 minute everybody's in San Francisco and Los Angeles and New York City and Boston. 1 minute they're not. And the economies are very similar to a business. You can have a nice long run as a business, but eventually you're going to have to get nimble and create, keep yourself relevant going forward. So our goal is, we can't live off of the California reputation of 1996, right? Aren't moving here like they did, right? We're not the only store in America that understands technology or how to build a technology-based company. So it's a grittier, more determined task. Right now we're number 4 in the United States in job. You being from Fresno, you probably don't think of Sacramento as a big job generator because we were a sleepy little government town. But we're now more capable economically, and that economic impact is flowing through our universities, elevating our community, and being built on a stable future that we can compete in.
I like that you brought it up what other people in other counties are saying. And yes, being from Fresno, I think in Sacramento, obviously it's the capital. And this is where the regulations and politics happen. I don't necessarily think of it as being the leader in jobs.
Yeah, so the top 9 semiconductor companies in the world all have R&D now in Sacramento. 6-7 years ago, we didn't have that. We just had Intel. So now we have Solidigm, which is a memory technology connected to SK Hynix. Their headquarters in research and development is in Rancho Cordova. Bosch is building the largest semiconductor plant in the last 30 years in California in Roseville. But we don't work on big companies and small companies, we work on industries. And then of course battery technology is an important part of the future. And we're going to have automated machinery equipment in ag. We're going to have electric products, right, in ag. But there's going to have to be, if we're going to have solar and renewables to power our farms, there's going to have to be a storage and battery technology achievement. And that's something we're working very hard on as a community. I'll just say this, we have a looming opportunity in front of us to make agriculture more innovative, creative, make it more sustainable for our farmers. We also have the ability to feed the world, which we know by 2050 is going to be a problem. So the great thing about the food and agricultural world is not only are you making products in agriculture better for everybody in our community, but you're also making it better for everybody in the world. And I think we get a chance to participate in something that's that beautiful. We feel really privileged to be, the breadbasket of California.
Thank you so much for your time. Have a great show.
Thank you very much.
This is the AgNet News Hour. I'm Sabrina Halverson, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Welcome back to the AgNet News Hour. Here's Sabrina Halverson.
Wrapping up the day with some news today, the American Farm Bureau Federation has put together calculations for the production value of crops most at risk of damage from Hurricane Milton. Chad Smith has more on the devastation.
2 weeks after Hurricane Helene battered Florida's Big Bend region, Hurricane Milton made landfall, further devastating the state's agricultural sector. Farm Bureau economist Danny Munch says a combination of data allows us to assess potential damage based on production value in the region.
What we found was that vegetable production is the largest agricultural sector in those counties impacted by Hurricane Milton, with a total value exceeding $1.6 billion produced in those counties. FDA requires and restricts any sales of edible portions of crops that have been exposed to flooding. So any vegetables that were flooded have been lost. The fruit and tree nut sector, where next largest sector, $1.3 billion in ag sales in those affected counties are produced, such as the state's citrus industry.
The estimated losses don't stop there.
Florida is also the second largest producer of strawberries in the U.S., producing over $430 million in strawberries each year, and 99% of acreage was in the counties within Hurricane Milton's path. You also had wind damage on barns and infrastructure, cutting power to dairies and aquaculture facilities in the area, and damaged fencing and livestock containment areas.
The road to recovery will be long for Florida's agricultural community, but Munch says there is help available.
So when we're talking about crop insurance providers, approved insurance providers, they've been authorized to accept delayed notices of losses due to Hurricane Milton. FSA has provided some flexibilities. You also have some permanent disaster programs in the Farm Bill that will continue to help, such as the Tree Assistance Program, which provides vital financial support to cover the cost of replanting or rehabilitating orchards when those trees are damaged or destroyed, and the Livestock Indemnity Program, which compensates livestock losses exceeding normal mortality due to extreme weather. So those are just a few of the programs farmers can use.
Chad Smith, Washington.
The Agriculture Secretary says partnerships for Climate Smart Commodities program is working even better than some had expected. Gary Crawford has more.
Yes, some climate experts believe we are in for decades of stronger and more destructive storms, droughts, and floods, and as a result of that, the continued loss of small and mid-sized farms.
But I believe, and we at USDA believe, there's hope.
Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack in Hershey, Pennsylvania the other day at an event showcasing new climate-smart products and farming practices being developed through USDA's Partnerships for Climate Smart Commodities, a pilot program that Vilsack unveiled back in 2022.
We wanted to work with farmers, ranchers, and forested landowners to implement climate-smart practices on the ground. We wanted to implement greenhouse gas measurement, monitoring, reporting, and verification systems to ensure that resulting climate benefits were credible and marketable. And importantly, we also wanted to develop markets for the resulting climate-smart commodities. We made a point of emphasizing that each of these products needed to provide meaningful opportunity as well for small and historically underserved farmers and landowners.
Vilsack says when he first announced the program, some said it wouldn't work, that very few producers would want to participate, that the markets for climate-smart products and practices were too elusive. But Vilsack continued to say,
if we can tap into these markets and create meaningful revenue streams and new income sources, farmers and landowners will surely respond.
And Vilsack said they certainly have responded, and now, some 3 years into the Partnerships for Climate Smart Commodities program,
we have more than 14,000 enrolled farms with over 3.2 million acres of working lands already enrolled in projects, producing over 100 commodities that are being developed through a range of climate-smart practices geared for climate-smart markets.
And many of these commodities are not just demonstration products.
Today, we have over 40 of the commodities within this program that are already being sold in the marketplace to a variety of buyers. Buyers that include universities, food hubs, processors, retailers, and directly to consumers.
Consumers who, studies show, are willing to pay a premium price for certified climate-friendly products designed to produce new climate-smart income for producers, especially small family operations. And so for those beleaguered farmers, Tom Vilsack says,
There's hope.
This is Gary Crawford reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This is National Bat Week. Pollination and pest control are two of the many ways bats benefit farmers, which is why bat health and habitat conservation, some say, is essential. Here's Rod Bain.
A friend to agriculture. When that phrase is applied, one might consider a grower, a farm advocate, an ag organization or agribusiness, or even a government entity. The saying can also apply to various species of animals and insects. Honeybees and other pollinator bees are one example of this. And as Kim Winter of the U.S. Forest Service says, bats should also be placed in this same conversation.
They provide pollination services in many tropical countries and many tropical zones of the planet.
Their pollinator services allowing for production, export, and consumer enjoyment of various exotic forms of fruits and vegetables, spices and herbs. That service also applies to U.S. farm and food production as well.
When they are coming in for some nectar on cactus and the agave plant in Mexico and in the southwest of the United States, bats will come in and they'll be night pollinators for that very important agave, which is used in tequila.
Bats also are contributors to pest control for crops in our nation and in North America.
Down in Texas, they're flying around in the night skies, basically protecting corn crops from a lot of nocturnal moths that are otherwise going to eat them. And in Georgia, we see bats flying around protecting the pecan crop.
That is why the education about and protection of bat habitat is important, including this time of year. Bat Week, an international awareness and education campaign, takes place the last 7 days of October every year. Winter says a variety of resources, research, materials, and events are presented at the Bat Week website, www.batweek.org.
We have it broken up into different sections of why bats matter, how people can take action, some of the events that are going on, where you can learn. There's also some really great videos there. We even have people reading books about bats.
Also to be released in conjunction with Bat Week 2024, a bat conservation strategy developed by partners in conservation efforts like the Forest Service.
We can work on new and novel ways to both combat the decline of bats due to diseases such as white nose syndrome and other issues that are facing them, such as habitat decline, but also be very proactive in how we ramp up the populations of bats and assist them in growing their populations after that devastating disease.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
That's today's agriculture news. I'm Sabrina Halverson. Thank you for sharing your morning with us.
To get more information on the topics you heard today, visit AgNet West at agnetwest.com. You can also stay connected by following us on our social media at AgNet West on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Also look for Sabrina Halverson on Facebook, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast by searching for AgNet West on your podcast app. Thank you for listening to the AgNet News Hour from AgNet West. AgNet West Radio Network, your primary choice for agriculture news.